So what really is the true cost of living in San Diego, California? Hey guys, listen, I'm Joseph Daniels, and real quick, just wanted to take this time to go ahead and make that video to tell you guys what that true cost of living is. So I'm gonna go through the 5 biggest expenses that people usually go through and pay, and I just moved here with my family about 2 months ago. So I wanted to make sure we got a few months under our belt, paying some expenses, the differences between Texas, where we're from, Houston, Texas, where we came, and now San Diego, California. Specifically, I'm actually out here right now in El Cajon. So let's get into it. Now, for those that don't know, obviously guys, I am in retail management, so I am a manager at a certain company. Won't be going deep into detail for that, just for confidential reasons, but I actually moved here from Houston, Texas. And actually, when I moved, I was able to transfer through with that company. And so there are some things that you can see, but the number one thing that people always ask about San Diego, California is, what are the wages look like? What is the financial aspect of things? So I'll go into a little bit of detail. For me, I will say, coming from Houston, Texas, there is a certain wages there's certain salaries there's certainly certain hourly rates that they have there. And then here in San Diego, they have certain hourly rates, certain wages, and of course, certain salaries. So just for me and my experience, guys, I was able to keep and hold the same position that I had in Houston, and I was able to move out here to San Diego, California with the same position. And I will say, just with that position, there was a pay raise for me. Just because, not just because of a merit-based type of thing, but more so just because it's a different market, and the market is actually higher for wages out here. So for those of you that are looking for the hourly wages or looking for the salary, just to give you a gauge of what that gap looks like. Houston, Texas, the wage, actually the minimum wage is $7.25 as of right now when we're making this video. Now, look at San Diego, California, the wage gap, or the wage actually is, the minimum is $16.30. So, are there some jobs that are different? Are there some salaries that are higher? Are there some different things? Of course. But when you just look at the differences in the wage to really dispel that notion of, yes, California is expensive, however, it does make up for it with the wages being much, much higher. The second thing that I noticed immediately coming out here was the gas. Guys, the gas out here is extremely different than it was in Houston, Texas. So again, when you're looking at Houston, Texas, and the car that you, of course, it depends on the car that you drive, depends on how much you're driving, it depends on a lot of different things, the mileage on your car. But just to give an overall gauge, guys, when we look online, the average price of gas at this moment right now is $2.95 a gallon in Houston, Texas. So that's where I was at. I was at the $2.95 a gallon. And so we come out here to San Diego, California, and it is now, the average is $5.30. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that every single time and every single gas station has the same. Of course, out there in Houston, Texas, there were times that I was paying $3.15 per gallon, $3.30, even $4 for the same gas. And that's the same thing out here in California. So there's been times I've paid $6 for gas, I've paid $5.04 for gas. I've paid even up to $7 a gallon out there in La Jolla, here in California. So again, yes, the gas is different, the gas is a lot higher, but again, we have to remember the wages are almost twice, or if not already twice as much. So yes, that's another piece, that the gas is much, much higher. I know for me, out there, and again, it depends on the kind of car that you drive. So the car I drive, really, really good on gas. So, you say, hey, I'll put 25, I'll put 30 in my gas tank out there in Houston. I think you'll be set, at least for my car, I'm set for the week. And if I really do smart and I don't do too much throughout the week, I might even get all the way through the weekend. Here, $20, $30 doesn't get you much. It doesn't get you as far as it does in Houston, Texas, because again, like I said, the gas per gallon, the price is a lot higher. So you're looking at, for me, my tank, when I just, for clarity, my tank back in Houston, it would be about 25 to 30 to really fill it up. Out here, I'm looking at about 50 to 60 to fill it all the way up from the start. So that kind of gives you a little gauge of where that gas is at, guys. Next up, let's talk about the home prices. This is the important part, guys. So the home prices, if you're in the market and you're looking to buy a home or sell your home, this is the piece where you really want to look in at the Houston, Texas versus the San Diego market. So the Houston, Texas market, average home price is about $340,000 for an average home in Houston, Texas, right? Out here in San Diego, California, the average home is looking at right around $896,000. And I find it very interesting because, again, I'm really big into homes, and we'll talk about that later about real estate and everything like that. But when you really look at it, out there in Houston, Texas, it's the massive gap between the two. In Houston, Texas, if you say a home for $896,000, those of you guys that live in Houston, those of you guys that know the Texas market, you're thinking you might get 5,000 square feet, you might get a pool in the back, you might have an acre of land, it'll be in some of the greatest neighborhoods out there, gated community. 800,000 in Houston, Texas. However, out here, you know, and you can look at an $800,000 home, you might catch a bungalow, and this is no issue to anything, but you might catch a bungalow, you might get something that's maybe a 1 or 2 bedroom, you might even get a condo for $800,000. So when you talk about your luxury real estate markets and your higher end markets, the higher ends are a lot different, and the gap is much different. Of course, there's taxes that go within it, but we won't dive too deep in the taxes. We're just talking about the 5 things right now that are the biggest expenses on the daily mindset. So again, guys, Houston, you're looking at about $340K, of course, give or take, you know, for the average home out there. Out here, $896, really close to that $1 million mark. But again, guys, like I said, the wages are a lot higher, and again, cost of living is, yes, it is much higher. Next up, let's talk about utilities. I think this one was very interesting just because, again, the differences in the temperatures is one thing, and the way the weather is out here is going to be a lot different. So, of course, on average, and when you look at online, it shows that they're right around each other, very similar. But I can say for me, my family, I have a daughter, I have a wife, and what we're looking at here, I think we're probably going to save a little bit of money here on the utilities. Reason why? Because the weather here is on year round, right around 80 degrees. So you don't get that in Houston. Of course, in Houston, actually my day on the airport, my day when I went driving to the airport to move out here, it was 112. So you don't catch that here in San Diego, California. So the good thing I will say, you're not going to be using the AC as much. For those of you that are living in that Houston and hotter climates, you're not going to use the AC as much. And for us, obviously, we're working on saving and different things like that. So I will say our first 2 months of actual utilities, we've saved money. Now, that won't be the case for everybody. Some people like to utilize their AC. Some people like to utilize their heat. If you're coming from a colder climate, I know you're utilizing your heat a whole lot more than here and in Houston. But I will say for sure, the weather is steady throughout the year, so that helps you keep a steady flow on your usage of your utilities. So let's talk about the food. The food, that's a very important piece right there. Everybody's asking about, okay, how much is the food? So again, there are certain things that the price of this or the price of this is always going to be the price of this, right? But when you look online, the price, it shows about average people are going to spend about the same amount on average, just a few dollars give or take on the groceries. I think for me, this really depends on you and yourself, but I definitely say we're close, but we spend a lot more out here on food. Now, when it comes to fast food, restaurants, and eating out, 10 times out of 10, you will spend a lot more money out here as opposed to out there in Houston, Texas. Now, as far as groceries, and you're buying bananas and potatoes and Whole Foods and, just regular actual groceries, which again, my wife handles that. She does a very good job on that. I just pretty much try to say, hey, I think I kind of want this. Can we throw that inside of the budget? And she handles all that part. But when it comes to that, I'm seeing financially though, it's all very similar. You know, the price of a banana is pretty simple out here in California. It's going to be pretty simple out there in Houston, Texas. But I will say again, when you're talking about eating out, you're going to these restaurants and things like that, we have seen a major increase on our budget with that. So again, like I said, for the food, it's very similar when you're talking about groceries and you're talking about the staples, your toilet papers, things like that, very similar. But again, when you're talking about splurging, when you're talking about going out, it is much higher. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. So that's the 5 different things right there that show the true cost of living in San Diego, California. Like I said, guys, again, those are some of the biggest expenses. And like I said, those are the things and how it's impacted me and my family. So again, most of those things we're talking about, hey, a lot of those things are higher. Yes, things are a lot more expensive. And so I guess the question really comes down to you on, hey, where's your mindset? I think it really becomes a mindset thing on, hey, are you prepared to, yes, increase your expenses when you move out here to San Diego, California, and then what's important to you. If you know, saving money is the biggest thing important to you, then you may or may not make this decision. But I will say, guys, there is opportunity costs that come along with it. I'll just say, speaking from experience, our decision to come out here, you know, we've seen an opportunity, we jumped on the opportunity, we came out here, and I would say again, guys, honestly, now being here for 2 months, if we had it to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again. You ask my wife, I really hope she would do it all over again, but you'll have to ask her. But again, for me, guys, I think the biggest thing is, yes, there's opportunity costs, but there are benefits. Yes, even paying higher prices for things. For one, this sunset, this is not even a, you know, this is not a backdrop, guys. This is an actual sunset. I'm sitting on the edge of a cliff right now at the back of our neighborhood, and it's beautiful. And so I will say, between the beaches, between the different hangout spots and different things that you just can't get, I'm literally 20 minutes away from the beach this way, 20 minutes away from the mountains that way, all I can hit in the same day, and working a full 8-hour day. I couldn't get that in Houston, Texas. All right, guys, so hey, listen, I'm gonna jump back in. I gotta get back into this the sunset right here. It is beautiful. Like I said, again, it's all up to you. It all depends on your mindset, what's important to you, what's important to you and the family. But again, at the end of the day, this is the true cost of living, I would say. And again, if you guys have any suggestions, comments, whatever, drop it all in the comment section. Of course, you guys know how to get in contact with me. Follow me on all socials. We got a lot of things that are cooking up, a lot of things that are coming for 2024, and you really, really don't want to miss out with it, guys. But